Hello, welcome to this very special edition of the Pace Report. Reporting live at this year's 13th annual Pittsburgh International Jazz Festival, presented by Citizens here in Highmark Stadium here in Pittsburgh. This year, one of the headliners is a vocalist who I profiled at the very beginning of his career. Jose James has not only been a very, very Afro-futuristic, but also visionary, combining both jazz as well as hip-hop and other forms of music into the fold. Jose has a brand new record, a tribute to Erykah Badu. And in the 7 songs on this album, he paints a very different revisioning of Miss Badu. We had a chance to sit down and break bread to reflect on Erykah's vision, her legacy, and what he means to her as a musician. Also, we sit down and talk about his record label. Also, we talk about his time overseas as an instructor. He was an instructor at the University of Amsterdam, and he has a very different concept of education, which I think you guys will find very interesting. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of Mr. Jose James performing music from his brand new record, his tribute to Erykah Badu, live at this year's 13th annual Pittsburgh International Jazz Festival, presented by Citizens, live at Highmark Stadium here in Pittsburgh, here on the Pace Report.
Too much to see, the world keeps turning. Oh, what a day, what a day, what a day. Peace and blessings manifest with every lesson learned. If your knowledge were your wealth, then it would be well earned. If we were made in his image, then call us by our name. Most intellect do not believe in God, but it was just the same. Oh, on and on and on and on. On and on and on and on and on. I go on and on, so I can keep moving like a rolling stone. I go on and on and on and on and on. God damn it, I'ma sing that song. I was born under the water. $6. Yeah, you might laugh it because you did not do your math like what's over there. Like what's over there. The world keep turning. Oh, what a day. What a day, what a day. The man who knows something knows that he knows nothing at all. Does it seem colder in your summertime and hotter in your fall? If we were made in his image, then call us by our name. Most intellect do not believe in God, but the fear is just the same. On and on and on and on. Cypher keep moving like a rolling stone. On and on and on and on and on and on and on. I go on and on.
Mad props to the God.
I'm feeling kinda hungry, cause my high is coming down. Don't feed me yours, because your food does not endure. I think I need a cup of tea. The world keep burning. Oh, what a day, what a day, what a day. You're rushing to destruction, cause you don't have nothing left. The mothership can't say your soul.
when they said we was doing this, a lot of stuff came in my head. I said, man, Jose in 12 years has done You and Great Reporter. And this album is heavy for me because when I was in college, Baduizm came out.
Right.
Her and Busta Rhymes dropped The Coming. They were about the same time. And I knew bipolar opposites that these two guys or these two musicians were going to just take the world by storm, and they have.
Right.
Erykah's music, she reminds me a lot of Nina Simone in her stance to not giving a shit about what everybody thinks about what she has to say.
Right.
But she empowered a lot of black women and a lot of black men through what she's been talking about.
Right.
Why did you decide to do a record on Erykah?
Well, a friend of mine, when I was in Amsterdam, I was doing these like live online sessions, solo sessions, and people would stream in from all around the world. And the homie was in Brooklyn, and he watched it. And you know, I would do my stuff. I would do Marvin Gaye. I would do covers, you know. And I did some Badu covers, you know. So I'm looping, I'm playing guitar, beatboxing, and singing. And he was like, bro, he called me right after from Brooklyn. He said, man, that was so cool. Like, have you ever thought about doing a whole album of Badu stuff? And once he kind of planted the seed, I was like, man, I hadn't thought about it like that. But coming off the Bill Withers thing, you know, knowing what it is to dive into somebody's catalog and to hopefully sort of like examine their work through a different prism to show other sides of it, I said, you know, it is important that I think her work be kind of like examined and I don't want to say uplifted, but I think certain artists like Badu or like who's my man, Elton John, you know, they're so larger than life in a way. Their personas are so big, their look and everything that is kind of around them, kind of forget their simple gifts. Like Elton can play some amazing piano. That's where he started. Badu was a poet, you know, she was a wordsmith. She started from there. So as I started to delve into her music and her words and her language, it just kind of attracted me and pulled me in more and more and more until I said, you know, this is a challenge. Like, can I actually make a cohesive album and a statement that would stand apart from or alongside her, you know, considerable output, you know?
Erykah's catalog is short. She's only released a handful of records. What made me really dive real hard was the second record. Well, The Live was her second record, but Mama's Gun was so against the grain of what was happening in R&B and hip hop at the time. Right then and there, did you know that her artistry was going to change and careen differently after that record?
When that came out?
Yeah.
I guess I always thought of her as like a Miles Davis kind of figure where she just kind of let her spirit go. So for me, it was like there's a kinship with jazz, you know, the way that she moved through the world, the way that she pulled in different collaborators, the way that she existed, you know, and flowed over the beats, you know. So it felt more like the evolution to me. And I think for her, and you know, this now is in hindsight, to have such a commercial and critical success with the first one, I think she was like, okay, now I can just be me forever, which is amazing.
But she was always her.
Right.
That On and On video, when you saw in Dombey and China Black, her background singers, you knew that it was not, this was not no 702. This was not no Escape. This is uncut R&B.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
The roots of how she came out, that whole Texas, she and Roy Hargrove, they came from the same ilk, but very different canons of types of black music that they were putting out. And I say that because what you've been doing has coincided exactly what she's been doing. What you did 15 years ago is kind of like what Erykah has done throughout her career. How do you parallel that? How do you compare and contrast?
I mean, I think I just look up to her, to be honest. You know, she influenced me. And, you know, when Baduizm hit, I was deep into classic jazz, modern jazz. And there wasn't anybody who really, it wasn't samples, you know. All the other things I had heard were rap samples, you know, De La or Diggle Planets or Tribe, which was all cool, and Gangstar Groove, all of that. But this was like, no, she was the music. She was creating the music, and it was fresh. It was not a throwback in any way. Not to discount any of that other work, but it was very future.
And let's not to cut you off.
Yeah.
The Songwriters,
right?
Cressler,
Yeah.
James Poyser,
Yeah.
all them cats.
Exactly.
They were coming from a very music forward thinking musically back then.
Exactly. So I think, you know, me and like Glasper and, you know, that kind of generation, like we're sort of like the next wave because we grew up with that as a reality. And it's like, okay, you know, they gave us permission to do what we've been doing. You know what I mean? So I look at it as following in her footsteps as a band leader, songwriter, you know, multi-hyphenate, you know. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
It's pretty cool. And the thing I really admire most about her, I mean, there are many things, but I think out of all those people we're mentioning, she managed to really stay current till today, like cutting edge all the way, bleeding edge of art, you know, and that's really a testament to, like you said, her vision and saying like, this is who I am, I'm following this purpose.
Her last two albums, Volume 1 and Volume 2, were very Afro-futurist.
Mm-hmm.
It is just like, I don't even think she cared about the commerciality of what she was putting out. I think her whole intent was, I'm going to be very, very different here. Especially Volume 2.
Right.
That was one of the hardest records for me to get to because I'm like, where's she going with this?
Mm.
But it took like 3 years to understand what she was doing.
Mm.
Did any of her music get you like that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think she's brilliant because she will pepper all of that. Like the further out she gets, the more she'll put a honey in there, or she'll put a, you know, back in.
Yeah.
She'll get you in, and then she'll take you way out, and you're like, what? And then before you can kind of react, she's like, now we're back.
Yeah.
To the beat. And you know, for me, I really love, you know, the Coltrane's. I love Pharoah Sanders. I love this idea of like somebody saying, here's a form. Now I'm gonna systemically destroy this form in front of you, and then I'll put it back together in a way that is unrecognizable. It's the same thing, and it makes you think. In that 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, how many people can really make you think of a 4-minute song? Like,
Bag Lady.
Right. Yeah. And that, I feel like that's an undervalued thing these days, where it's like, yeah, people can write hits, they can bang out hits, they can get the production, they can get the top line. Cool. That's totally cool. But like, does it stay with you? Does it change your viewpoint? That, to me, that's the purpose of art. How can it change your viewpoint on the world you live in to make you see things differently? And you know, that's her highest achievement, I think, as an artist, is to constantly do that. And even people who think, okay, I know Badu, it's like, she's like, no, there's a whole nother level to this that I will show you. I won't show you all of it. She's always hinting at something else, and that's what I kind of drew from with the jazz part. It's like, it's all in there. So I said, let me just get right into that and live in that space, you know.
Ooh, hey, trying to decide, so which way to go. I think I made a wrong turn back there. Said, hey, trying to decide, so which way to go. I think I made a wrong turn back there somewhere. Where in the world is all the so many things I still don't know. So many times I changed my mind. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. I'm scared to take the way they. So when I stumble off the path, I know my heart will guide me back. Say, oh, hey, I'm trying to decide, say which way to go. I think I made a wrong turn back there. Say, oh, hey, say, oh, I'm trying to decide, say which way to go. I think I made a wrong turn back there somewhere. Didn't you know? I tried to move, but I lost my way. Didn't you know? I said I stopped to watch my emotions sway. Didn't you know? I knew to talk, but I would not pay. Didn't you know? Because you never know how the cards may lay. Love is life, and life is free. So take a ride, a life with, and free you, and find joy, and there will be a brighter day. And there will be a brighter day.
Man, I have followed you from the beginning, man. Congratulations on you and your wife. I understand you lived in Europe, you taught Amsterdam.
Right.
Now you're back in the States, you're back in LA. What's been life for you post-COVID? Because it seems like you've still been very active.
You know, it's been reflective. Like, I think we all went through a lot of reflection during that time, and we did teach at the conservatory, which was eye-opening experience.
How?
It's the whole wrong end of the telescope thing, you know. It's like, and I think this is the problem with schools in general, but it's all the kids want to have immediate results, and they want to be praised for it immediately as well. And it's like, that's not going to help you, you know. So I think they came in, they were expecting me to just kind of like, blatchify the school or something. And I'm like, no, let's work on fundamentals. Like drummers, like, let's hear your kick drum pattern. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm listening. Like, no, it's not tight. You have no plan. And they're like, whoa. So, see what I mean? Like, a lot of kids wanted to play black music and this kind of future black R&B and jazz, but not really understand the nuts and bolts of it, like what people are doing.
Rudiments,
yeah. Like Jay Dillis, like, he's programming in a specific drum pattern. Learn that. Don't just play a beat and say, oh, it's cool and it's laid back. So, well, that's just not it. But there are so few people, because it's relatively such a new thing, a new development still. I mean, yeah, 25 years, but in terms of art, that's new. There are still, it's not really being taught. So there's this weird gray area that, you know, it was interesting, I learned from, and I said, okay, let me get back to the States, because I also need to create. I can't just give. I need to surround myself with people who have internalized all that and who are onto something else too. You know what I mean?
Would it be a fair comparison? Would be you driving on the right-hand side, and then you're going to London, you driving on the left-hand side.
Right.
You're right. American culture is about And this is why our education system has failed, Jose. They're teaching these kids to be employees.
Right.
They're not teaching them critical concepts of thinking,
Right.
common sense, mastering your business, because we're going to talk about that in a second with your record label. It seems that now the music that I'm hearing has no soul in it. I hear what you're doing, I get it, love it. But music has to have soul. It has to have some spirituality to it. It has to have rudiments, like you said. And I was just talking to Chelsea Baraz a few minutes ago about Afrobeats and how the music is dominating the world right now. Because the music is so outside and fresh. This is what hip hop used to be 50 years ago.
Right.
And I'm noticing that with the education system that you're talking about, it's like we need people like yourself. We need the Nicholas Paytons. We need the Orrin Evans in to fuse how we've got to move forward. Are we there yet, or do we have a long way to go?
I think in certain instances we're there. You know, I got to shout out Terry Lynn Carrington, doing incredible work at Berkeley. You know, been a long-time leader of our scene in education. I think they're doing great work. You know, there's people like Jason Moran, you know, Rhode Island. Like, there are pockets, but I would say in general. And to be fair, I don't know if you can teach this in school. I'm working on a book about it though. I think it's something that's more of like a solitary thing. It's like, well, can you teach somebody how to be a fighter? Can you teach somebody how to box? You can teach them a lot, but until they get into that ring and they get a hit, wow. Then that's how you learn how to block. That's how you learn how to move.
Right.
That's the thing. And so it's kind of like we're teaching these kids a lot of moves, and then they get into the ring and they get knocked out.
Yeah,
and it's not fair.
Yeah.
So that's how I would say it. It's like there's kids out there murdering the heavy bag and the speed bag at school, and then you put them on a gig. You know, and I've hired some of them. Like, let's go, and it's like, oh no. You know.
And thank God you had guys at the new school like Junior Mans.
Right. Chico.
Yeah.
We're the real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they were like the Dramatics record. What you see is what you get.
Exactly.
And Junior came with, he was a leader, but he was also a hell of an accompanist. He played with everybody.
Right.
And that's, you know.
And the depth of the pool, that is the thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of kids, and you know, I don't want to sound like the old man, whatever, but it's like, I know that when I got into jazz, I went through it from Louis Armstrong, and I learned as much as I could. And not only listening to records, but like, who are the sidemen? Who are the people who produced it? Who wrote the songs? Like, what year? What did that mean? Like, okay, you know, trying to figure out the vast network of all these cities and the migration of the music, because that is the story. That's why it's important. That's why it changed, you know? And, you know, I think in this kind of algorithmic based, which I love the speed of it, but it's like, if you don't know what you're looking for, how does the library work?
Right.
You know, you're just walking around through different sections, like, I don't know. So it's a little different, you know. I don't know that kids are doing the same background homework and understanding, you know, why Nina Simone said what she said at that time, why she took that stance, how it tied into the civil rights movement, how she, you know, had relationships with Harry Belafonte, what he was doing, and all those things. That's why the song is important, not just because it sounds good. So it's like, yeah, you can sit down and play it, but if you earn that, and more importantly, why? And the question why, nobody wanted me to ask that question, and that, to me, that's the only question. I'm like, well, why are you want to play this music? They say, I want to do it. And I say, why? Because it sounds cool. I'm like, a lot of things sound cool, but there's a meaning to it. There's a history and a tradition. So if you're playing just to sound cool, it's not going to mean anything. And they were like, well, that's fine with me. And I'm like, oh, well, then I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Keep it moving. Let's keep it moving.
Exactly.
Let's keep it moving.
You know.
My eyes are green 'cause I eat a lot of vegetables. It don't have nothing to do with your new friend. I don't care, I swear, I'm too through with you. I am, you don't mean nothing to me. So go ahead and be with your friend. My eyes are green, 'cause I eat a lot of vegetables. It don't have nothing to do with your new friend. I'm insecure, but I can't help it. My mind said move on. My heart lags behind, but I don't love you anymore. I'm so insecure, never knew that love did this way. I can't remember the last time I felt this.
The record label.
Yeah.
Orrin Evans is doing it. Jason Moran is doing it. Dave Douglas. There are a lot of musicians that are now taking publishing, masters, the whole shebang into their own hands.
Yeah.
What led you to this?
It's a great question. I mean, I think it was first necessity. I got to shout out my partner Talia Billig, who worked at Blue Note. She helped me to get signed to Blue Note. She was an early champion of what became No Beginning, No End. She studied under and worked under Bruce Lundvall and then under Don Wild, so she shepherded that transition in, and I was, largely because of her efforts, the first artist to be signed to that new wave, you know, with this new sound. And, you know, she's brilliant, and she really has always said, start your own label, you know, start your own label. And I was kind of like, I don't know. Then I got the rights back to The Dreamer, because it was on a 10-year license deal with Brownswood, and it was coming up. And I said, well, you know, I want it back, and I need something to do with it. I got to put it out. And so Don was cool. He said, yeah, you know, you can put it on your own label as long as you don't tour it, because I was doing the Bill Withers thing at the same time. And that's how Rainbow Blonde became a entity. But quickly, because of Talia's vision, she said, you know, I think we should really, this is something special. This is a focus for the community. We can make this worldwide, and it's really her vision. And it's been amazing. You know, I'm 5 years in now as a label. We've done something like 20 plus releases. And the thing about it is, she comes from that background, EMI, Blue Note.
She has the corporate culture.
Yeah, and the A&R culture,
right.
And understanding like how to talk to people, how to talk to artists, the whole process of the label and the album, the cycle from the demo to it going past and out of the tour cycle to being on the shelf. How do we keep this thing? What's the life of an album? You know, that's the new question. And for me, I was already doing all the work. You know, a lot of people are, and you know this, were wondering, well, was it Don? Was it somebody A&R? No, it always was me, A&R and everything, doing all the photo shoots, hiring the stylist, calling the producer or producing it myself, sitting in the mixing rooms, sitting in the mastering rooms, making sure the vinyl sounded right. Nope, the bass ain't right enough. We gotta recut it, you know. I've always been hands-on. So now I'm doing all the work and I get to own the house.
So you don't miss being Blue Note. You don't miss the majors. You don't miss it.
I don't miss it, you know, because you know it changed dramatically, and I don't think they would mind me saying that. You know, it's when they were under EMI, they had a lot more flexibility in this corporate structure. They had a lot more room to make decisions, and they did. And you know, I was a Glassburn, and I were beneficiaries of that.
Yeah.
But when they moved to, when EMI was sold and that whole transition, the culture changed. Everything went to Hollywood, literally. And I love Capitol. I love, you know, the people and what they do. But you know, you're in a building where Katy Perry is the top, and nobody knows or wants to know who a Glassburn is, or who a Jose James is, or who a Gregory Porter is. They don't. They're just like, who, why, what do we? So for me, it became a question of like, do you want to make numbers? Do you want to make hits, whatever a hit is in that world or today, or do you want to make your art? You know, and Don, to his credit, gave me as much time as he could, and we made a lot of art, and he always backed me. But you know, I think I'm proud of what we did, and you know, I want to be unencumbered by that, and I want, frankly, the artists on our label to also be unencumbered by that, because the burden that you carry, and you don't know that you're carrying it till it's over, knowing that it's conditional, that you can be dropped for any reason at any moment, it's a hard burden. And I didn't know what a burden it was until I laid it down, and it was like, oh man, I don't gotta do that anymore. You know, we signed Jared Yoakley, my drummer, who's a brilliant producer, singer, songwriter, and a hell of a drummer. And we told him, hey man, we're not trying to do numbers here. If we do it, cool. We will give it to everybody we can and make sure everybody knows about it, but that's not the point. The point is to make a beautiful piece of art that you feel good about, that changes your viewpoint from being a sideman to a leader. And we did that with Ben Williams, with I Am a Man, you know, and to me, that is a greater gift than, yeah, we put out your album, it did these numbers, here's a check, blah, 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 now we own it. It's like, well.
But Ben is so, I said he was going to be a slow motion in progress. Not everybody is meant to eat potato, steak, the outdoor and the dessert at the same time. Ben is one of those cats that can go, and I've been told he's doing very well in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
The whole, when he left and went to LA, his whole thing went shh. And that happened. I'm seeing that with you.
Right.
LA kind of shh. A lot of people been asking me to come out there, and that might be.
The weather's nice.
Yeah, I can deal with that.
I'll give him that. The food is better than New York, and the weather is better. Those are the only two things I will concede.
You ain't going back to Minnesota.
No.
So take a ride alive with me and free your mind and find your way, and there will be a brighter day, 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 there will be a brighter day, 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 day. there will be a brighter day. Love, 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 the love, the love, love, the love, 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 the love, 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 the love, love, and there will be love, 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 separately, love, love, and there will be love, a love supreme, love, a love supreme, a love supreme, free, and there will be a love supreme, 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 and there will be, and there will be a brighter day, and there will be, and there will be, and there will be a brighter day.
As a musician now, as an artist, man, are you happy with where you're at right now, or do you have some more stuff that you have to do?
Great question. I think both. You know, I'm in the middle of like some really exciting projects right now. I'm mixing my next album called 1978, literally right now. It's being mixed in LA. I've been working on it for 5 years, and it is beautiful, man. I love it. It's amazing. You know, put it like this: if Leon Ware and Jay Dilla made an album, that's what it would sound like. You know what I'm saying?
I miss Leon.
Right, me too.
I miss
me too.
Leon.
It's that, you know, and it's I feel really good about what I've done. You know, I'm not one of those artists that looks back and says, oh, that was trash. No, that was my journey and beautiful, and there's a lot of validity there because it's valid for people that have done. But I do feel like with the Badu record in particular, I feel like, okay, I really know how to make albums now. Like, I know how to do it. I know how to get that sound. I know how to produce it the way I want. I know how to get the best out of my musicians and get that performance and that whole feel. So I feel like I'm just getting started in that way. You know, I mean, this is definitely like the next chapter of a long, you know, hopefully another 20, 30 projects. I'm also working on a documentary film right now about my journey, like a reverse middle passage going back to Africa. So there's a lot
heavy, man.
Yeah, there's a lot happening, you know, and it's global. It feels good, you know, it feels good because, you know, I don't have to, just to tie it all together, like I don't have to run anything by anyone anymore. There's no, it's just me. It's me and Talia. And she's like, yeah, let's do this and figure out how much it's gonna cost, and then we just get it done. And that's kind of our reputation now. It's like, yeah, we want to do this album, we book it, and it's done. And everyone's like, well, it's done. You know what I mean? Like it's what they did back in the day, man. It doesn't have to be hard, you know.
And I noticed you're touring a lot now. Yeah. You're a lot more freer now to do what you want to do because you're not under the restraints of the label. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Well, one of the sneaky secrets about the deal is you can't set your own release date. So you're beholden to however they feel. And that can work out for you sometimes, but sometimes, you know, it don't. And, you know, it's like, well, you tour when we say you tour, you know, and that's not always advantageous.
Well,
you know,
I'm looking at Nas's business model for mass appeal. He just dropped his album Friday on his 50th birthday. Mm-hmm. He releases it at will.
Right.
And he only has to do 3 or 4 songs.
Right. Yeah.
That's what you working towards. Mm-hmm. And that's freedom.
Exactly. So I'm happy, man. I'm happy. I feel good. You know, I feel free. I feel powerful. I feel ready to embrace whatever the world is bringing us, you know.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live at this year's 13th annual Pittsburgh International Jazz Festival, presented by Citizens here at Highmark Auditorium here in Pittsburgh. I'd like to personally thank the incomparable Jose James for his time. Make sure you support his tribute album to Erykah Badu, which is now available on iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. For more information on his upcoming tour dates, please visit him online, as well as follow him on social media by way of Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I'd like to personally thank Janice Burley, the artistic director for this year's Pittsburgh International Jazz Festival. I'd like to personally thank her and her staff for her warm hospitality, as well as Miss Carolyn McClare of Carolyn McClare Public Relations for her assistance all weekend. As always, people, I can't stress this more than enough. Please like, share, and subscribe to my videos here on YouTube and Vimeo, as well as leave comments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.
What a day. Peace and blessings manifest with every lesson learned. If your knowledge were your wealth, then it would be well earned. If we were made in his image, then call us by our name. Most intellect do not believe in God, but he was just the same. Oh, on and on and on and on. On and on and on and on and on. I go on and on and on, so I can keep moving like a rolling stone. I go on and on and on and on and on.
God damn it, I'ma sing that song.
I was born under the water with $3.06. Yeah, you might laugh it because you did not do your math like 1, 2,